Is there a difference if this was in the first sitting or if this was in the last sitting? The answer is no. The same ruling would apply in the last sitting as well. So there's two scenarios in that sense in the last sitting. One is that you, after you read the fourth rakat, you were about to stand up for a fifth rakat directly without reading at-tahiyyat. So if you're closer to sitting, you sit down, no sajda saw. You're closer to standing, you'll sit back down and you do sajda saw. The same will be if you've actually sat for the sitting on the fourth rakat and accidentally you're about to stand up for a fifth rakat thinking it's your third rakat or something along those lines. Again, if you're closer to sitting, you will sit back down, no sajda saw. If you are closer to standing, then you will sit back down and do sajda saw. So in the first scenario, when you're closer to sitting, no sajda saw. If you're closer to sitting, no sajda saw. If you're closer to standing, there will be sajda saw. So just to highlight, जी, ये हमने पिछले हफ्ते बताया था, तो आप पिछले हफ्ते नहीं आए थे, तो मैं बता देता हूँ. ठीक है, ये बिल्कुल इसी पॉइंट पर था कि the difference between the first and last sitting, that's what I wanted to highlight anyway. So I'll mention it along that. What's the difference between the first sitting and last sitting? Remember we said first sitting is wajib and the last sitting, anybody remember? Last sitting will be faraz. Okay, so what's the difference between the two? One is faraz, one is wajib. What does that mean? So that means if, for example, the person has omitted the first sitting completely, so like I said, he remembers once he has stood up or he is closer to standing, now he won't sit back down. Now he'll just do sajda sahw at the end. But in the scenario where a person stands up for a fifth rakat, if he does a sajda of the fifth rakat, in that fifth rakat he goes into sajda, what did we say? That namaz becomes invalid because he didn't sit down, that because the last sitting is faraz. So if you remember, whilst you're in the fifth rakat, you stood up accidentally, before you go into sajda, you should sit back down again and you'll do sajda sahw. Now where you're saying should you add two rakats, that is in the incident where if you sat down and you read at-tahiyyat, then you stood up and you read a fifth rakat, then you will add a sixth rakat. But that's only when you've actually sat down and read at-tahiyyat. If you didn't read at-tahiyyat, then that faraz becomes invalid because the last sitting is faraz. So that's the difference between the faraz of the last sitting and the wajib of the first sitting. That if you've missed it, and how will the last sitting be missed? Once you go into sajda in the fifth rakat, faraz invalid. But if you miss the first sitting, and when will that be classed as missed? Is when you're closer to standing or you stood up, then you'll just do sajda saw at the end. The namaz won't be invalid. Number 8.